24 to 70mm lens is a standard zoom lens. It's well known for its reliability, efficiency, and versatility. It's born for work. I have used several versions of these standard zoom lens, including Canon EF, of course, later the Canon RF version, and the Sony first generation. However, I'm not a professional photographer, it's just a hobby. So I found these standard zoom lens for work is very boring. It's incredibly boring and bulky, and I don't really use them too much. This year, I returned to the Sony system. I bought the A7C Mark II, and I discovered this standard zoom lens 24 to 50 f2.8. It's a G lens, not a G master lens. That's the lens I'm shooting right now at 35mm at aperture 2.8. It's remarkably lightweight, maintaining a f2.8 aperture while keeping size and weight well controlled. However, the trade-offs are lack of image stabilization and the loss of 70mm focal length. When using zoom lenses, I tend to treat them like prime lenses. This 24 to 50mm lens is a combination of three golden focal length, 24mm, 35mm, and 50mm. I find it incredibly convenient. But what's the cost of this convenience? Having extensive experience with 24, 35, and 50 prime lenses, I noticed some issue with this standard zoom lens without any rigorous testing. The 24mm end exhibits noticeable distortion with obvious digital correction. The 35mm focal length performs the best, which is typical for zoom lenses where the middle range often performs better. The 50mm end is average. Performance in backlit conditions is somewhat poor. Modern lenses from major manufacturers increasingly rely on digital correction, which helps reduce the weight and the size of the lens, but introduce an AI-generated fill. I have the Sigma 16 to 28, and we can compare these two lenses at the 24 to 28mm focal length. So in general, I think Sony made significant compromises on this particular lens to achieve this f2.8 aperture. So much auto correction going on in the image, and the color performance isn't as good as other Sony lenses. Price range of 24 to 50mm is against the competitors like Sigma 28 to 70mm and partially replace some demand from Sony's 24 to 105mm lens. But remember, Sigma doesn't have the 24mm end, and the Sony 24 to 105 is way more heavier than this 24 to 50. In terms of build quality, Sony outperforms Sigma and even surpasses my memories of Zeiss Sony lenses. I particularly love the aperture ring design, with its satisfying click and damping to prevent accidental adjustments. In contrast, Canon's multi-function ring is prone to misoperation and feels redundant, often left unused. Sony's aperture ring can be set to A for automatic mode, functioning like a standard digital camera, or used manually for a retro experience. Unfortunately, Sigma's 16 to 28mm and 28mm to 70mm lens, being entry-level lenses, lack this aperture ring, which is a shame. In other aspects of build quality, Sony feels more polished and cohesive. For video performance, there's no question Sony native lenses will win this game. The Sigma 16 to 28 struggles in low-light situations, and the Sony performs well. The autofocus of this Sony lens is buttery smooth, and its size is so compact, and it has relatively large aperture 2.8. I think it's ideal for gimbal use. So for me, this lens is more like a video lens. If you shoot still, you shouldn't get this one, and if you shoot video more, and this one is for you. The Sony 24 to 50mm G lens doesn't deliver a reassuring performance of flagship f2.8 standard zoom G master lens. Its capabilities are closer to entry-level lens if you prioritize still photographer. The Sony 24 to 105mm is a better choice. It's more affordable, although it's heavier and larger. For professional photographer, the 24 to 70mm f2.8 flagship lens is the only choice. I wouldn't recommend the Sony 28 to 70 because it lacks of the 24mm focal length, as I believe the 24mm focal length is sometimes critical. So the 24 to 50mm lens sits in an awkward middle ground. So this Sony lens gives us a reminder that all of these compact size, more affordable small lenses, especially those zoom lenses like Canon 28 to 70, Sigma 28 to 70, and the Sony 16 to 24 f2.8. These lenses made a lot of compromise to achieve this 2.8 aperture. So don't set your expectations too high for these kind of lenses.